I wanted to do a little segment today about what it's like being an insurance adjuster, pulling a camper or an RV or anything like that. So I guess first thing I'll go over is, if you don't know anything about camper life or RV life, there's a couple different kinds, of course. There is Class A, which is like the big old motor coaches. Like if you see a band traveling, they're usually in a Class A motor coach. Class B is like a little tiny guy, like the Mercedes vans, or they have Sprinter vans, different stuff like that. And then there's Class C, which is the bigger motorhomes they have a driving part, and then it's as big as like a regular camper, like an RV travel trailer. And then of course there's travel trailers, which is usually the popular option for adjusters. Some people have big ones, some people have little ones. The bigger one you have, the bigger truck you have to have, and usually that's the vehicle that you're gonna go driving around doing inspections in. So if it's not diesel, then sometimes that can be an issue. But I've seen it go all different types of ways. I've seen a lot of people travel around in the Sprinter vans, and they're able to do what they call kind of like stealth camping, which is where you are is where you lay type of thing. So you'd go to your inspections, and say your radius is 100 miles, and you do your inspections for the day. You could just go kind of post up somewhere, whether it's a Walmart parking lot, or you get like a Planet Fitness membership so you can take showers if you don't have a shower inside of it. And that's a pretty cool option, but you're driving your home everywhere with you. So if you go set everything up, and you got your toothbrush on the counter and whatever, everything's always traveling with you, so you're gonna have to be mindful of that. The most popular option, like I said, is probably just pulling a travel trailer, moderate size, because you are going to be stuck in that thing for God knows how long, at least a month usually. So some of the drawbacks of that are it is where it is, and so if your inspections are 50, 100 miles away, you're going to have to drive back to it every single day. And a lot of the campgrounds during a catastrophe event are damaged by the catastrophe event. So if storm hits on day one, you start calling on day one, it's very hard to get in touch with them. The phone lines are out. They don't have any services. If you can get in touch with them, they're usually saying, well, we don't have any water, we don't have power, there's limbs down. A lot of the time you almost have to do a service to them and say, that's fine, we can work with that. I just need somewhere to park the dang thing, and I'll clear out my site myself. And you might have to do that. It's desperate times. It's a catastrophe event. So that's something to keep in mind. But a couple weeks into it, usually things relax. So if you're somewhere you don't quite want to be, you're able to find a spot and relocate, maybe closer to your claims or whatever the case might be. So that's something to think about. And when comparing the cost of a hotel to the cost of a campground, again, it depends on the amenities, but as an adjuster, you're not going to have time to be using the gym and going to the pool and doing all that stuff. I mean, I guess you could, depending on your assignments and your experience level and how you can move through everything, but in a cat event, you're trying to rock and roll and do as many claims as you can. So chances are all you're going to be doing is sleeping there and using the power and Wi-Fi. And on that note, that's another thing to take into consideration, is a lot of those places don't have Wi-Fi at the campsites. So you're going to need to look into having, what do they call it? Like a wireless internet hotspot type of thing. That's definitely important if you're not near a war room or some other place, because you don't want to just go hang out at Starbucks or McDonald's for 5 or 6 hours while you're writing reports. That's terrible. But the cool thing about having a camper is you can set it up any way you want. You have all your stuff there, your bed sheets and your own towels and your own food, and you can cook dinner and save money. You got a refrigerator, so you can do the disposable dinner, TV dinner type of thing if you don't have a lot of time. And you can set up your office right there. You don't have to worry about moving or doing anything like that until you're ready to move. But prices can range at campsites. Let's see, I've stayed at one that was, I think it was $400 a month, It was in the middle of nowhere. To drive anywhere near the big city was about 20 miles away. They didn't have Wi-Fi. They didn't have any amenities. They had a laundry room. They were nice people. They had a little camp store. That was pretty cool. But especially in places like Florida, where there's so many snowbirds and people trying to go RVing recreationally, they're taking up a lot of those resources already. So when you throw a catavan into it, there's people that are displaced because their homes were damaged. They're trying to stay there, plus all the adjusters, plus all the snowbirds. It can become a pretty big situation where you're trying to find a place that is cost effective as opposed to staying in a hotel. So a lot of it really just comes down to personal preference of, some people aren't outside, outdoorsy people, and some people very much are. Like, I like to write my reports outside, so I couldn't imagine staying in a hotel, being locked in a hotel room for hours at a time writing these reports. I'd like to go sit outside. So that's why one of the main reasons why I choose to pull my camper, so I can feel like I'm not stuck in a cubicle every day. But yeah, there's a lot of different options out there, and comparing price. I know on my last deployment in Florida, we were down for Hurricane Ian, and everyone on my team was staying at the hotel where the war room was at, and the price point was like $225 a night. If you had a roommate, that's still $100 and something after taxes and everything per person. And I was paying $33 a night to stay 8 miles up the road at a really nice campground. It wasn't sketchy, it wasn't scary, it was around a lot of amenities for food and grocery shopping and whatever else you need to have done if you need your car serviced or anything like that. So that was definitely more cost effective. It was $900 for the month, and that included electricity, so that worked out a lot better than being at the hotel. Although it's more convenient to be at the hotel and be around your field managers and the other people that sometimes you just need someone to talk to that understands what a crazy day you had, and you have to drive a little bit to be able to do that. But if you like your own space and everything like that, then the camper life can definitely be good. But you have to stay on top of it, as far as the maintenance goes, and making sure before the deployment you have good tires, you have all your stuff stocked up, because if you've never gone before, when they say go, you need to be on site at this certain time, everything that you should have prepared for should have already been done. You should have already gone grocery shopping, packed your bags, packed your laundry, taken care of all your bills at home, set everything on auto pay. If you're bringing a pet, bring their shot records. Oh, and on that note, if by chance you are traveling with a pet and you've never done that before, make sure you get one of those internal temperature thermometers that can connect to your Wi-Fi hotspot in your camper. So, God forbid you have to leave your dog in there, or cat, or whatever support animal you have, for a long period of time, and there's a power surge or something happens at the campground where they lose power, which is very likely when they're repairing things and all that after a storm, that the power would fail and your animal could get hurt, and that would be really, really awful. But they have these things you can buy that monitor the internal temperature of the camper, so you get an alert, and so oh my god, I have to call the campground and say, hey, go rescue my dog or cat or whatever. And that's something super important. But aside from that, tires, maintenance of the camper, make sure you fill up your propane. A lot of people bring extra gas, but I've never actually seen you need the extra gas. I mean, it could happen, of course. There's lots of things that can happen, and you don't quite ever know what they're going to be. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful for people that don't know anything about camper life as an adjuster. It's cool. I 100% recommend it over hotels, unless you're going super far away and you have to be there, because your time between when you leave, if you have to drive 1,000 miles pulling a camper and you have a day and a half to get there, man, by the time you get there, you're expected to hit the ground running with these claims, and you're just not going to be able to do that in in the capacity that it needs to be done, you know, because you're going to be tired and weathered and everything else, because you don't go as fast in a camper, you don't stop as often, you're not as refreshed. It's a long road when you're pulling a camper. So all things to think about, but you know, short distances, 500 miles, whatever, it's good, you know. And if you have to relocate, it is kind of like moving day, so it does take a little while to break down everything, go check in. Sometimes that takes a while, set everything back up, and then get back about your day and everything like that. So keep that in mind if you're planning on moving a whole bunch or something like that, because that does take a whole bunch of time. But yeah, hope that helps. Y'all be safe out there.